This video will show you the installation of To Samarkand app on your Android, and especially walk through some of the permissions that To Samarkand app needs in order to make the app work. It's really two primary things that it needs, and the other things are optional, and I'll cover all of them in a fair amount of detail. The first thing, of course, the To Samarkand app is an app that shows your walking progress along the Silk Road. That's what it's all about. To do that, it has to read your step count. It reads your step count from Google Fit. Google Fit is a Google app service that collects your exercise and fitness data from, depending on how you have it set up, from a variety of devices and uh, and phones and things, and puts them together and makes them available to other apps to read. This app only reads step count, and if you go into this over here, you can read in more detail about each one of these. So this app only reads step count, and it does not write anything to your Google Fit database. So it doesn't have any real-time access to your database. It only sends in a query, says, give me the steps since the last time I checked. And it figures those out and figures out which ones are today and adds them into the total step count that you have as you make progress. That's all it does. Reads your daily step count, no other information, and it doesn't write anything or change anything in your fitness data. That is required. It's in bold here. It's required for the app to work. Now, the app will work in the sense that you can move around the app by clicking on things and looking at the images and stuff, but it won't ever make progress if you don't enable this Google Fit access, reading from Google Fit. Again, this is just an overview of all of the different permissions that this app is asking for. You'll go through more detail as you hit each one. In order to do that, also, you have to log in as your Google account. Make sure you log in the same account that you have your Google Fit set up on. So this just the second one says it'll show up as a thing to allow the app to read your email, basically. The only thing it does is it reads your email and uses the email to link to your fitness data, your Google Fit data. That's all. That's the only thing it does there. These next two are optional. And by the way, all of these, well, the Google Fit and these last two, you can change in the settings anytime you want. And of course, the first two you can change or revoke on your Google account if you ever go into that. So the next one is a backup process that puts your progress every day into a secure Google Firebase database. The reason for that is that if you then go and get a new device, or you lose your device, you get a new one, you upgrade, um, anything like that, it will have your progress so far, and you can just pick up where you left off before. There are also some operating system variations of Android that will have a security setting that wipes out your app data every night. And so I put this in for people who have that service built into their security systems. So this will still work with that because it stores them in this Google Firebase secure database. Now, the app will work perfectly fine without this unless you wipe out the data from your app, or you uninstall or reinstall it. Then of course it'll lose all of that if you don't use the secure database. No personal information is stored in that secure database except your step count and your progress within the app. A few other details go in there with that. The last thing, which will be the first thing that's asked about, is permission to anonymously log any crash to a secure database. This just writes out where the app crashed and what the last thing was that was happening in the app. There's no information. Again, you can look at these details here. There's no information about you. There's no information about any of the specific information about your device. Of course, it'll say which kind of device it is and what version of the app you're running. But other than that, nothing that can trace you back to your specific device is logged. And so that's the other one. That'll be the first one that's asked. When you log in to your Google account, it will ask these other two, and then in a final one, it'll ask if we can use the secure database. So let's continue. And so now this is the first one. It asks if you want to allow this app to log any crash into a database that I, as the developer, can look at and see if I can figure out what went wrong. Again, this permission is optional. It won't affect the performance of the app, but it's just good to allow me to find something that went wrong. The next thing this app is going to go through is it goes through a walkthrough of how the app works. It shows you all the different features of the app and things to look at and where the steps are put. Here's where the steps appear. Your daily steps appear here. Your 10-day average appear here. Your total that you're going through and how many you have to go over here. What dates you're expected to get to the next place, etc. All of that is all part of the app. You can do that walkthrough. I present it here before logging in so you can decide before you log in whether this is worth it or not. Or you can just, if you want, just skip it. You can always come back and do this walkthrough later. So I'm going to skip it for now to give this demonstration. The next thing this is going to do is going to log you into Google. Again, this log into Google is the one that will show up as a thing that gives me permission to read your step count data. So after you finish logging in, Google will present you with their general terms of service. You can look through that and all of that. You only have a choice of agreeing or just getting out of the app. This is something that's put up by Google for just showing, make sure you agree to their terms of service and their privacy policy because you're logging into Google. And now it's going to present oh yeah, this is important. I have to make this video before the app is approved so that Google can see that I'm doing it right. And so the app has not been approved. And if it's not approved, you'll get this. This is Google's sort of fail-safe to make sure that I don't sneak something through, whatever. So this app has not been verified by Google. It will after I get through making this video and presenting the information to Google. They'll go through and then approve it. You won't see this if you download the version from the store because I won't put up the version until it gets approved. But so for now, I have to go through this advanced and go on to Samarkand anyway. Right now, this is the important screen right here. This says Samarkand wants to access your Google account. You can select which things To Samarkand can access. You've already given permission by logging into Google to these first two. I'm going to skip those. The next two are the two that I talked about earlier. This is the optional one, view and administer your Firebase real-time database. Now, again, that's just the database, the secure database that I use for backup of the app. You do not have to, this is optional, you do not have to give permission, but doing that allows the app to recover you where you were if you change devices. So I'm going to say yes. And then this one's the big one. It does not work if you don't allow the app to view Google Fit to see your step count. This says to see and store your physical activity data. This app will not store any data in Google Fit. So be careful how you read that. This app will only read the step count. It will not do anything else to the Google Fit account. It does not have any feed to Google Fit. It does not change anything. So this gives me the app permission to read the step count and therefore to make the app work. And so then I do continue. Before going off to get your step count, the app will present one last time to you the screen explaining what the connection to Google Fit does. So again, this app only reads your daily step count from Google Fit. Doesn't write anything to your fitness data. It doesn't read anything else. Only your Google step count. You can read more from the same explanation for the Google Fit as it had before. Um, you don't have any choice here. You either go or you don't use the app. But this says connect to Google Fit, and it will go off and get your step count, and that's what it does. So now it's fetching your step count. It has to go um, do this. So this says I took 3 steps today, um, and then it's actually going to go through and find out what steps I took previously. And so that's why the first time on a new day, it'll do it several times. And so I had used um, this app for doing some steps already, this account. And so it has 59,000 steps already that I've taken, and it pulls that up from the history. Now, I just installed this, and yet it pulled up 59,628 steps from before. That's the advantage of using the Google Firebase database for storing your um, progress, because then if you do switch phones or use a new phone or reinstall it or uninstall it, or your um, operating system cleans out the app data every night, it will recover those steps and pick up where you left off before.